Hi folks. Well, here we are with a Friday night newsletter. I'm going to go over a couple of things. I've had questions from time to time about how to service the routers that we have and how to fix them if they go bad, and what to do if they don't work. And the most common reason for a router to stop is that the brushes, the little carbon brushes that turn on the armature, when the armature turns, these brushes have to be making contact in order for the motor to work. So the most common thing to do, the most common reason for the routers not to work is the brushes. If we get into the bearings and some of the other stuff, I don't do much on those, but I will change the brushes from time to time. And I want to show you how to do it. A lot of you guys know enough about motors and electric motors that you know how to change brushes, but for the newbies and you know, for some people that have never worked on routers, it can be a little tricky. So there's 2 or 3 ways that, and I'll show you on, for instance, on this router, on the DWP611, the whole cap has to come off, and I'll take that off and I'll show you. But on this rigid router, you can get to the brushes by this little cap right here. All you got to do is take that out, then the brush comes out, you can put a new brush in. I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy to do. It's a few little things that you need to know, but it's fairly easy to do. And the tools that you're going to need are tools like this. This is really all you need. This screwdriver will take this out. I've got a tool here to take this cap off. Once the cap comes off, then it's a little tricky to get the brush out of there. It has a spring that holds it in, and you have to relieve that spring. Then you have to disconnect the brush from another post. So it's a little tricky doing that on the DWP. It's fairly easy on this one. But I just wanted to tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you how I do it, and I'll try to be as clear as I can on what you need to do in order to get it done. I can't show you from where the camera is now, and what you see here, I can't show you how to do it. So what I'm going to do is we're going to shut this film off temporarily, and I'm going to get on the other side of the bench, and Eric is behind the camera, and he's going to come directly over my shoulder so that I can not only tell you what I'm doing, but I can show you how I'm doing it. So other than that, is there anything else that you can think of, son, that I need to tell them before we shut it off and switch to the over-the-shoulder camera?
No, I think that's it. By the time when we come back, it'll be pretty much just your hands and your voice doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you won't see my old bearded face anymore. It'll just be my voice and my hand showing what I do. So
kind of like Waylon Jennings on the Duke of Hazzard.
Yeah, right.
Just your hands.
Just my hands.
Yeah.
So
okay.
So go ahead and shut her down now. We'll reset up with the camera behind me. Okay. The first thing I'm gonna do. You see everything all right, son?
Yep.
First thing I'm gonna do is show you on this rigid. Now, first thing is, you see these plugs here? Make sure when you start working on your router, make sure it's unplugged.
Good idea.
That's because if you don't, sooner or later you'll regret it. But make sure it's unplugged. So get rid of those. Okay, now on the rigid, like I told you, you can access the brushes, and I'll show you what they are. And this is really all you need to do to change the brushes on a rigid. Now there's 2 brushes, one on either side, which is normal on all routers. You got a brush on either side. And this is what the brush is. Can you see that, son?
I think I'm getting it pretty good, yeah.
Okay, this is a brush. Now, when it gets down to where there's about 1/4 of an inch left, it probably won't work anymore. And if you find that down to about 1/4 of an inch and your router quits and you don't have a set of brushes, always try to keep a set of brushes, but if you don't have a set of brushes, you can always take an old brush. You might have to grind this down. These are pure carbon. You might have to grind this down, but if you have an old brush that's no longer usable, you can just snap it off like that. Snap the grounding wire off. Put this on your sanding belt and sand it down to where it's the same size as the brush that's in the router. So you might have to sand a little off of each side and sand this down where the wire was connected. Then you can put that in, just shove that in loose, and then your router or your brush that's down small, you can go ahead and mount that back in, pushing this one up against the armature, which will give you a brush until you can get a set of brushes. That's just an emergency situation, but it will work. I've done it hundreds of times over the last 50 years, so it will work. Now on this rigid, for some reason they chose to put a little retaining ring on here. If you want to cut it off, that's fine. You really don't need it. But since it's there, I'll show you how I put this brush back in. If this were a new brush, it would have that ring. So all I do is I push the brush back in the hole. Could you see that hole
Yeah,
right there?
actually, I did zoom in on that.
Okay.
They got a good shot
Just
of
put
that.
it right back in the hole, and you push it back in with your thumb. Make sure that that ring is seated on the. Now, if it was me, I'd cut that ring off, but I just want to show you how to do it with that ring on there. And sometimes you kind of have to fumble around and get everything right. But once you've got that ring in there, push it back in the hole like that. Have to be sure that it's seated in there. When I get it in there, I'll show you. Well, again, see, that ring is a pain in the butt. And it has to be exactly right or it won't go in there. And if it's not right, then it won't seat down in there. It won't go back in like it's supposed to, and you'll never be able to get that phenolic screw back on there. So this is just to show you a little bit about sometimes you have to fool around and get everything exactly right. Sometimes it just goes in, first shot it goes right back in, but I don't know why they want to make something like this. It's so difficult to get the seat right, but well, I'll take it back out and try it again.
Yeah, I don't understand that little ring there either.
Yeah,
We've done thousands of routers over the years.
I could show you how to cut it off of there, but since this is just an instructional video, if I ever have to change brushes, I'll guarantee you that little ring won't be on there. It's just there's just no valid reason to have it that I can see other than gives it a little bit more contact. Now that's pretty much seated in the way it has to be. Can you see that, son?
I can.
Okay. Then I take this and I just be sure that well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
I thought that might be coming.
Yeah, it's time. I'm just going to take that ring off of
Oh,
there.
shoot, I missed that on camera.
You missed it?
Oh, no, cool. Go ahead. Keep going. I'm there now.
See, I just cut that ring off of there. Then you put the brush back in the hole.
It's obvious Vicky is not filming this. It's the guy that's used to being in front of the camera. Sorry, guys.
Then that's a little easier to get back in there. Well, that was... No, that's all right. I got it, son.
You got it?
Yeah.
Oh. It fell right through that.
Fell right through that hole where the bench dogs go.
Yeah.
I'll put the router base over it so it doesn't do that again. So then I hold it in there, and I use my thumb and I put that, whoops, well, it still came back out. It has to be in there. It has to be in there just right, or it just won't fit in. So you just have to make sure that those two little prongs once you get it in there where it's supposed to be, see how easy that is? Nothing to it.
That was easy.
Yeah, that was easy.
Yeah.
That little ring is kind of a pain. Now you can go ahead and use that.
Okay, so I got to zoom out. So show us what that stupid little ring was.
This is that little ring.
Yeah. And so...
And it just, in my opinion, it's not necessary.
It serves no purpose that I...
It serves no purpose other than to make it frustrating to get the rings in. So that's how you do the rigid.
And be sure, one other thing too, is be sure when you put that plastic cap back in there, they're really easy to cross thread.
Yeah, be sure that it screws in real easy.
Yeah.
If it doesn't screw in easy, you've got it cross threaded and you can screw it up. You'd have to get a whole new router cap in order to make it work. So
hey, I just wanted to throw that in there.
that is good. I'm glad you did, son. That's how you use the rigid. Okay, now we get to the Porter cable, or to the DeWalt. And on this one, I use an electric screwdriver to take these screws out. And of course they're falling on the floor, but that's all right. I'll pick them up. Now you can do it with a hand screwdriver.
I got it, Dad. Go ahead and keep doing what you're doing.
Okay. You can do it with a hand screwdriver. It's just a little bit easier if you use an electric screwdriver. So this is the way the cap comes off.
Was there a fourth one, or was that? Do you have the?
I've got the fourth one here.
Okay, good.
You got two long ones and two short ones. The long ones are in the front, the short ones are in the back. And the reason is the short ones go here and the long ones go here. So it takes a longer screw in the front. This is off. It's not plugged in anyway. So this is a brush setup. And this is what I'll show you. This is a spring. Now I don't know why it did that. It all of a sudden it completely snapped loose. And it shouldn't have done that, but that's all right. I can fix it later. This is a spring that I'm going to mess up and lose both of these springs if I'm not careful. So what I do is I take a tiny, tiny screwdriver like this, and I stick it in that
Notch. Yeah.
It's sort of a notch there. And I stick it in there, and by having it in there like that, now you have to be real careful, because if you lose that spring, then it springs back, and it really is a pain to get it.
Like you did on the other side.
Yeah, like I did on the other side for some reason, and it's really a pain to get it back where it has to be. So once you get the spring off of the brush, this is a brush right here. Once you get the spring off of that brush, then the brush is connected by a little post. See that post right there? Can you see that, son?
I can.
And this is the brush. And it's the same, basically the same thing. If you get down to where it's about 1/4 of an inch, then the brush will quit working. It just doesn't reach.
So this brush is a different design. It doesn't have the spring on it like the one in the Ridgid had the
Right.
spring on the back.
Has a spring on it. This has no spring on it. It's a completely different design. The spring tension is in this little thing that I'm holding here with a screwdriver.
Right.
But this brush comes in and out just by slipping it in the slot like that. Having a little pair of needle nose pliers that you can use to slip it right back on that post.
Yeah.
Then you carefully take this spring, put it back against the, I might get lucky, I might not.
So it kind of went sideways on you, didn't it?
Yeah, they do, and it's real easy to do if you're not careful. And I just wasn't careful enough. I was too busy talking.
Trying to get an angle.
And
guys.
I'm lucky that I got it back as easy as I did.
Well, you're not done yet. Don't count your chickens yet.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this brush in.
Then put that spring on. Don't worry about clipping it until after the...
Yeah, I'm fairly sure I can.
You guys know the way we work.
Okay, now.
Nothing ever goes exactly perfect.
Now the clip is right back on now.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's, you know, it's like any other piece of equipment. Sometimes it's a little tricky to learn how to work on it.
Yeah.
But now the clip is right back on there. This is a spring, and the spring is holding the brush in. And you can take your needle nose pliers then and just put it right back on the post, and that makes a connection. That makes your electrical connection, and that's literally all there is to it. I'll have to fix this one before I.
Yeah, we don't need to show that.
We don't need to show it, but I'll need to fix that. But I'm going to put the cap back on just to show you how. Now you can see this goes back where the cord is. This fits on like that, and this is where the brush is. And then these, you got two different size screws. The long screw goes in the front, the short screw goes in the back. And that's really all there is to it. That's
Yeah.
This is a brush that I have to put back in there when I repair that other side. I'm not going to go through all of that, although I guess I could.
Yeah, we're kind of running short on.
Yeah, if we're running short on time. So what I have to do is this spring, I have to bring it back around, and it can be pretty tricky to do to try to get this spring all the way back around so that it holds that brush in there. So it might take 10, might take 15 minutes for me to do it. So rather than do it all on camera, but this is the one that's done right. Yeah, and it works.
And you got lucky.
I got lucky.
That one
I got lucky when I got away from me. It didn't go that far. I got lucky and got it back. But main thing is be very, very careful when you're doing that. Put something in there so that spring can't get away from you.
Yeah.
And a teeny tiny screwdriver like this is good. If you had one even longer, it's even better.
Yeah. Or maybe even a long nail would work.
Yeah, a long nail or even a knitting needle. Anything, something that will go and hold that and come through and hold that up while you're changing the brush.
Right.
And if you have something like that, then it's maybe a 5-minute job to change that brush.
Right.
Now, if you let it go like I did on the other side, it may be a 30-minute job changing that brush. So,
Right.
so that's what we wanted to let you know on our newsletter for tonight.
Okay.
And I'll fix that up once we get the camera off.
Yeah, otherwise I can't carve any more signs with that.
Yeah, right.
Get that fixed.
Yeah, I will have to repair that,
Yeah.
or my son will disown me. So, but this is really all you need for tools. You just need big screwdriver for taking out on the rigid. Then you need this one for the Porter cable, and a needle nose pliers are really handy for handling that spring. And that's really all you need to know.
All right.
You remember how to make a pusher brush if you need it, and so that's the information for today. And we'll see you next time.
Good job, Dad.